Welcome everyone to Autogefühl with Thomas here, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews. And to introduce that one today, your #1 community to discuss cars, to pay tribute to all you guys contributing here to our car community. Today we're going to take a look at the car that has highly been anticipated because we've recently shown you the S60 sedan. Then you said, okay Thomas, can you show us the new S60 Cross Country and also the V60 Cross Country? So today the new Cross Country models in the 60 range from Volvo, both the sedan and the estate. It's very exciting because especially with the sedan, it's the first time that someone does this concept, putting a sedan higher. That an estate is put higher, that's actually quite common nowadays. For example, the Audi Allroad models or something like that. But here with sedan, it's very special, and we're going to take a look at that today. What is actually about this strategy and what does the car differentiate from the normal versions? And later on, so if you're especially interested in the V60 Cross Country, we're going to take a look at that one later on. So that's maybe later in the video. Let's start here with the S60 Cross Country. Starting here at the front, what is different from the normal sedan version, the front grille? Here we got the comp structure, as we also know it from the V40 Cross Country, for example. And we see here, this is covered here closed because the sensor is also hidden behind that one. Then what else do we see? We got this prominent underfloor cover in the front, off-road style look. It's not the most robust material, but it stresses this off-road look, and you already see you get a higher ground clearance. You'll see it better from the side profile. 6.5 centimeters higher ground clearance. It has been put up higher here. However, it's not the very same suspension that has just been put higher. It's a different suspension. This one similar to the one from the XC70. So this is the basic changes here in the front. Now here in the side profile, you can really see that the car sits higher than the normal S60 sedan. We also link that video in the video description, so you can really compare these two cars then, especially also because they were both in white. So, and a very beautiful white color here, by the way. You see some crystal stars here when you look at it in detail. We got bigger alloys here with the Cross Country version. These ones are the 18-inch alloys here in Germany. This one, this S60 directly comes with them, and the V60 with 17, because in Germany the S60 Cross Country is only available in the summer, in the top trim level. It's kind of a pity in my opinion, because that really limits your pick, also on the inside, but we'll talk about that one later. Well, the alloy is actually very cool with this two-color scheme, and we got broader wheel arches. So there, you see, it's broader, that everything else of the paint is protected when you're going a little bit off-road. And of course, this black style also underpins the off-road view again. I already want to hear your opinion here now. What you think about putting a sedan higher and then introducing this off-road look to a sedan, as it's really completely new. What do you think about it? How do you like it? I think it's very spectacular, and I really love the design, especially with the sedan. Then you got here this aluminum look here again, different side bumper, same style as in the front. And as we go to the rear end, again, broader wheel arches with this black off-road style, as we already know from other estate off-road versions. And then got a small attached wing here on the lower part of the rear, and that's it with the side profile. And still, of course, you keep the basic beautiful sedan outline. Looking at the rear, what can we see here actually? Well, again, talked about the wing here, just small, and well, it looks attached. Not exactly a fan of that one, but what looks cool is that you got Cross Country logo here on the lower part, and as well the matte aluminum style. It's of course plastic, but just painted. And then with this, it's not really functioning as a diffuser in a technical sense, but it looks like that. And that also looks quite fancy, especially when you're looking for, by the way, you see we already collected some dust here just for you. Then if we look at the exhaust, this one looks really fancy, but it is fake, as you see. It's really smaller in this case because it's a D4 diesel, only available as diesel in Germany, but of course on other markets you also get it as a petrol engine. In the V60, you saw there in the back, you can also get the D3, the smaller diesel. Here in the S60, at least in Germany, you can only get the D4, and then so it's actually available in 150 and 190 horsepower as the diesel version. And the V6 is also available with the T5, 245 horsepower. Well, very sad that only in Germany we get the diesel with, but because Germany is still a diesel country and also not that kind of a sedan country, so the sedan is not the focus really in Germany. However, also on other markets, this one here, the S60, as I said, will also be available with a petrol engine, the T5, 245 horsepower. Then, and probably you can also tell us in the comments, maybe if you got it from a US market or something like that. I think there will be also other petrol engines available, but the T5, the petrol engine, will be probably the most important petrol engine outside Germany. Let's get inside, check the interior. By the way, very nice door handles. Also from the back part here, it feels actually quite good. Just some details here. Then let's take a look at the interior. Some top trim level. In Germany, as I said, only available in this top trim level. Then you already got the leather seats, which is really a pity because I would not go for the leather seats for obvious reasons. And but the seat itself, the form of the seat is really good, very comfortable. You maybe also see it, also kind of artwork. See how it is constructed here with the contrast stitches that comes with this cross-country package here with the brown contrast stitches. Also you got the two-zone climate control we see soon on the middle console. That's also included in the cross-country package, and some other nice features which are already included then. The cockpit, as we see, standard Volvo style, very high quality. Also look at the dashboard. This is just some artificial plastic, a little bit soft here on the upper part you see, but the structure they got in there, the structure makes it look really premium-like. I think a very good solution here for the dashboard as well. All the columns and buttons, they really are very solid. You see, this is a control for the automatic cruise control, which is leading in the market, in my opinion, together with a system from Mercedes. And then if you take a look at the right side of the cockpit, you see the clean Scandinavian design lines. I also like that. Beside of the, well, quite of many buttons in the middle console, but we're going to take a look at that one in the diesel very soon. Then let me take a seat. Actually, it's easier to enter this car than the normal classic sedan, because we obviously are higher. So not the seat itself is higher. This is really totally the same interior base layout as in the normal S60 sedan, but the car is higher, and so it's easier to get in and out. And that might also be a future concept, because a lot of people buying the SUVs because you can easier get in and out and you have a better overview sitting higher above the road. And that's also the case then here with the crossover. And now we finally see you don't have to pick an estate to have the crossover here. Then Volvo has really changed that, you know. What you can see, it's now here, it's a very good cockpit overview. I always like this kind of style from the Volvo interior, that it's very clean. I would prefer a matte wood style, because here you can easier see scratches and fingerprints on. You have to clean it further, and this has changed now in the XC90 of course, but for this kind of model range it will remain some years in that kind of style. You might argue about a lot of buttons here for the phone. It doesn't look too pretty, But I think when you do have them, you also use them. For example, let's say I want to call Katrina, and then I get in the phone book and I press 2 times the 5 to get to the K letter, and that's actually a quite practical thing there. So it's not too bad to have this one, as I said. It's a keyless entry. You can just put the engine on right here, but you can also just put in the key. I can also show you the key. It's a standard Volvo key we have here. Also very clean and nice solution. Very light, also slim to fit inside the pocket, and you can put that here when you got the keyless entry function, but it's actually not really necessary. Then to show the gauges, actually I think the GPS system takes ages to load. It's maybe also crucial when you take a look at the rear view camera. That's not actually too good. When you take a look at the gauges here in the front, they are all digital, and you can adjust them also what you really want to see. And if I start the engine now, you can see everything. Now says that I'm not veering the belt, and I can do that, of course. And now it's kind of gone. And then, for example, in the middle screen we can see the GPS information. For example, on the left side you see that there's a 190 horsepower diesel, 6.7 liters consumption of 100 kilometers. I think that's quite alright in my opinion. Or what do you think, guys? And I think it's also quite nice that you get this central tachometer there. Really good to see it. And of course, but you can adjust that stuff here in the middle part a little bit. I can also show you that. It's on the left part. For example, you can change the left and the right side what information, for example, the range, fuel range, that can be changed. Or if you put here, you can contrast mode. You can change a little bit how the display actually really looks, for example. Or also the colors. See, now we got a nice dark theme is also possible. This is elegance. Eco would be the green, and performance, yeah, the red. And then we got the RPM meter in the central screen, and the speed is just digital in the middle part. That's also quite nice feature, but we already know that from other Volvos. The multimedia system control itself, I'm turning off the engine. Actually, it's the classic style. We also know it. There's no central MMI control in the middle lower part. But here, actually, what we can see, it's quite intuitive. You can, for example, zoom in and out. But this one, I'm also still quite satisfied with the GPS system. And then we can see how we can browse through the stuff. And just press OK or exit to go back again, and that's quite easy actually. Also the surrounding of the buttons, everything really feels high class. And it's not the newest infotainment system, but I think you know what's the deal. And it's kept simply and easy. Also for the temperature, you get it separated, seat heating. That's everything quite clear, I think. Also how strong the vents are and where actually the airflow is coming from. So I think I'm really satisfied still with this. Not most modern, but they really thought about how can we arrange all the controls, and I still like the system, I must say. About the storage spaces, one is here in the very front, hidden behind the middle console. Storage space further on, glove box. And at the inside of the doors, it's actually quite small. If we continue to the middle part, bottle holders, quite good with this rubber stuff that bigger and smaller bottles are kept tiled. 12-volt supply. And it was also good with the details here. For example, these covers, everything feels high class and very solid. Love that with the Volvos. And the armrest can be put all the way behind, and then we got a USB port and the aux in here also for audio functions, and you can put some stuff in here. But actually not too much storage space here in the interior. We got a small glass roof here optionally. We can open it. See, it's actually not too big, but always nice to have some. Well, of course, it reduces the head clearance, and I've already noted that in the S60 sedan. You see already the head clearance here in the front is kind of limited. It's still okay for me. I'm 186 in meters. Here's, by the way, the microphone for the free speech. But here, well, it is still okay, but if you're above 190, that might be a problem actually. And the same will also account for the rear. And especially here as a rear passenger, I feel it's easier to get in the car than in a normal sedan. That's also an advantage. And then, well, you don't have too much space here in the rear, but you see with my knees and 186 in meters, it is still okay. However, and now with my head, if I really lean backwards, that doesn't really work. Well, it's on the edge, I would say. At the lower part here, I'm touching the ceiling now. So if you really want more head clearance, then you should go for the V60, for the estate version, then not for the sedan. But I think the sedan looks just so fancy from the outside. So actually that would be your choice and whatever you need. But you see, if we compare it to the other competitors here in this class, they offer more knee space and also clearly more headroom in this middle class here. However, if you have not that tall drivers or put the seat in the front, then it's of course better to sit. That's also possible, then really easy, but you know, you have to have someone smaller than here in the front. The quality here in the rear is also very good. The seating position is not that upright as in this XC60, of course, but then again, for a sedan, I think it's also a very comfortable feeling here in the rear part. And for example, you also got the wooden parts here at the inside of the doors. You also see it at the other side, also very beautifully executed. And for additional comfort, you can put out an armrest here, beverage holders here, also a clever solution. Then you can flip that one here up for some storage space, and also easy to clean because you can remove this rubber part here and just shake it. Let's take a look at the trunk or boot, wherever you're coming from. Also not the biggest strength here of the Volvo S60, especially that will be different in the V60. However, you see our small suitcases fit in properly, that's no problem, but it is quite limited. And also the lower part of the trunk is not really covered, that's also not that beautiful. The backrest release is also kind of complicated. You have to put it here, and then have to go around to the rear seats, and then it's also possible to flip them. And you can see what is actually happening. The trunk is going upwards, show you right here. It's going upwards here a little bit, that you have an even loading surface here, but it's of course not that kind of even. 1/3, 2/3 split here, but you see the height is of course limited, and that one will be different then. However, there's also another solution right here, because I also discovered a ski hatch, and that one is a little bit complicated. So there, I got it. It's also possible to have a ski hatch. So we start driving in the Volvo S60 Cross Country here in the city, and we get some very bumpy road right here now, so we can test the suspension. So far it's doing really a good job, and the suspension is still set on comfort. It's supposed to be more comfortable than in the sedan. You know, it's not that long ago that we tested the S60 sedan, and it's really a completely different suspension. It's not just that they put it up and then say, okay, we lose some of the suspension. It's more similar to the suspension of the XC70, maybe you know that one. And so we got it actually not that soft as we would be sitting in the XC60, so that's the difference then. If I turn a little bit left and right, I feel it's not that kind of going to the left and the right as it would be with the high SUV. So you got suspension-wise something in between the SUV and the classic sedan. So that would be the positioning of the suspension, and maybe that's exactly the thing that you want. But of course, you also have to test it yourself. And let's now get a little bit faster and do this right and left test again. Yeah, we got actually a quite good response. I like this compromise because it's not really a hard, stiff sedan suspension, but it's not compared to an SUV where we get it very soft. So I think it's a very good compromise. Maybe that would actually be something just for me personally, because sometimes some SUVs are too soft, I think, and some sedans are too hard. So this one is actually quite good, I think. Then again, the general driving experience with this car is very similar to the sedan because it's basically the same car, besides of the suspension, which is higher and then completely newly set up. Everything else, the interior feeling is kind of the same. Well, you realize you sit a little bit higher, so you could say you have a little bit better overview then. And that's also quite important to a lot of people nowadays, that you have this SUV-like overview. And I think that's kind of pleasing, because if you think about, if you would rebuild cars nowadays and just not think about the design, but just about how it drives, how you sit inside, I think you wouldn't do this normal sedan car sitting position, because it's not really fitting to the human body, you know. So overview, look to the right, left. Although we have a sedan, really good overview also to the side. Yeah, also if you look right behind to the side and left, that's still quite feasible, absolutely no problem. Let's see, you have to turn right here now. Let's move it a little bit faster. Now in Germany the S60 Cross Country is just available with the D4 engine, diesel with 190 horsepower. And this engine is actually quite fun. Always got a lot of torque. Now third gear, well, you have to put in the second gear if you really want to push it also from the lower speeds though. But I can generally really recommend the engine. Not sure if I would go for the 150 horsepower engine, because if you have this one here with 190 horsepower, it's also better for motorway driving, then that you can overtake people quite easily. So there it goes. Test the brakes. Yeah, standard good brakes, we know them here from Volvo. The sound insulation is also very good, I think. Quite calm riding. Although we have also realized with the S60 it still can be a little bit improved when it's, for example, when it's raining outside and you're on the motorway, then it got a little bit loud actually. So right now we're in a city with dry conditions, and then you can't really test so much of the sound insulation then. The seating position, I always love them with the Volvo seats. Volvo seats are the ones that are most fitting to my body in general, so for me the Volvo seats are most best ones. However, if you now think about, okay, shall I go for the S60 Cross Country or shall I go for the XC60? The seating position itself here, I realized it while driving, that has not changed. So that you're sitting higher is due to the higher suspension and not because the seat has changed actually. So you maybe still want to go for the XC60 if you want to have the seating position itself a little bit higher. So that's also a very interesting aspect here. I'm driving the manual gearbox version here, and I think from the last time I had the S60, I wasn't really satisfied with it. Maybe they have modified a little bit, I'm not sure. But it feels smoother now, the last, or maybe it's also depending on the very one vehicle. But here the one I got now, it's actually quite smooth, not much resistance while shifting. Maybe now when I'm going into first gear now. But in general, I'm feeling quite fine with it. Also the shifting lever feels quite good and high class. And however, I really love the Volvo automatic gearboxes, so I would rather go for that actually. Yeah, and everything else, I think basically, as I also like the S60 very much, this car is also very good. And if I would choose now from the one and the other, well, I think I would really go for the Cross Country, because I really enjoy this when you sit a little bit higher. Actually gives you a better feeling here. especially also when you're in city traffic. And also that you got the other suspension here, because in the S60, you know, there are also different suspensions to pick, and the standard one was too soft for me. Then you can, for example, also pick it in the R line, this R suspension then, but that one is maybe too stiff. And this one here, this suspension we got in here from the XT70, it feels a little bit more evolved, let's say. It really feels like they have thought about, okay, how can we get a good compromise between still being quite stable on the road, but still offering a lot of comfort. And of course, the last thing about driving, I don't have to worry that much if I go over a speed bump, or maybe if I'm entering some, you know, my huge premises where I have some off-road ground in front of me. That's also no problem, because I have the better ground clearance here, and so I don't damage the car that much. So that's about driving the S60 Cross Country. And of course, the V60 Cross Country will be basically the same, because you just have a little bit more in the back there, but the wheelbase is the same, everything else is the same, so you can have the same driving experience in that case. And some soft off-road riding here now, and actually it performs quite well. It's not too uncomfortable, and you know, as I told you earlier, because of the higher ground clearance and also because of the underfloor cover, don't have to be so afraid going some bumpy roads. Here you see it also how the camera is performing here on the dashboard. Then you really feel how rough it is here then. Yeah, and I think for a crossover and not a real big off-road car, I think it's quite comfortable here also. So as I said earlier, when you have some bumpy road leading up to your house, maybe or something like that, especially for our friends in the US, that might be the case sometimes. When you're living in the countryside, then it's also kind of a fitting car here, I think. Now we're taking a look at the V60 Cross Country, and I want to know from you if you like that one better, or if you rather prefer the sedan style. This kind of combination estate and higher ground clearance, we actually know this concept, but of course it is still a little bit different here now for the 60 model range from Volvo now. And well, the basic difference from the sedan is of course that the roofline is carried on over here, although you see the roofline is a little bit dropping down to have a more dynamic design line. And then we'll soon also show you how much space you have more in the trunk actually. Everything else, the other elements, bigger alloys and then these side bumpers, and also with the front, it's kind of basically the same. So it's really the question what you want to have here in the rear. So the style here in the rear is really completely different. See, the sedan has these lights that go a little bit more across horizontally, and now we have the different lights which resemble a lot of the Volvo XC60, you know, these lights that go down, and it's really different style. By the way, the T5, the petrol engine, 245 horsepower. And if we open the hatch, we can see, and this is really a better usage of space here. By the way, just some more space below here to put something in there, and then you see it's way more practical because you have also small space here in the left part. You have the higher, it's here as well, really easy to do everything. Although I'm kind of missing a lever right here to switch the seats. You can do it from here, for example, for the head restraints, and from here totally for the whole seat. And then it's actually possible to switch also 1/3, 2/3. See, it's really better here for putting stuff in here, and the sedan is really limited in this case. And what will also be very important, how we can actually sit here in the estate version. By the way, I shouldn't have put the head restraint down first, because if I have put it, just added it, then we have the even better loading area here that is quite even. Sitting here right now in the rear compartment, you see I have a better head clearance. Also, when I just lay back here, it is still possible to have this kind of space. So if you're 190, you would be exactly touching the ceiling in here. So it's actually not best class leading here, but it's of course better here with the estate version. So if you really on the way a lot of times with big adults here in the rear also, then you should probably go for the estate version. The cockpit here also remains the same, just we have another styling, same seats actually, but you see this is not in wood, but it's in this shiny black surface. Again, prone to scratches and also to fingerprints, but when it's clean, it also looks quite fancy. And by the way, this is the automatic gearbox here. You see the shifting resembles in the styling, but then we don't have, possibility to turn it right and left, but just up and down. Just in the very lower position, we can put it to the S mode, that we can switch up gears or push it like a Tiptronic. And it's also possible to change gears here at the steering wheel with this shifting levers. So let me conclude about the new V60 Cross Country and the S60 Cross Country. Actually, I like the cars both very much. I think also the design from the sedan is very special. I like the new approach. They say, okay, we are the first one to dare to put the sedan higher and really sell it also to a mass market. I think this car really has something very special. And actually also approach to say, okay, we want to think about the classic sedan customers that maybe want to have a higher entry and it's easier to get in and out of the car, and also maybe some more overview when driving. I think that's really good. And I like the suspension especially better than in the normal sedan version. I think it's a very good compromise between, a higher off-road kind of style of ride, a little bit soft, but also, not too hard, but not too soft. So I think they found a really good compromise there. And on bumpy roads, off-road as well as on the motorway, I was really satisfied, especially with the suspension. Of course, you have to think about still, it's a S60 basically, so you don't have too much space on the rear. So it's not a kind of car where you transport adults on the rear. You have to be sure about that. However, the front seats are very comfortable as we used from Volvo normally. And in Germany, you only get the top trim level here. Other markets, it will also be different. So I think I would go for the sedan, but not in the highest trim level here. So I also don't have to pick the leather seats then. So I want to know your opinion as well. Which one would you pick, the sedan or the estate? And also, which one do you like better? Because, someone said also, well, I don't like the sedan really in this off-road style. It's a little bit too special for me. But I'm looking forward to your opinion on that, of course. The interior quality, and also if you look at the door handles, the quality is still very high with Volvo. And I still like this kind of classic Volvo style. The XC90, the new one, linked in the video description as well. It's really something very special and very new as well, and completely different Volvo style. This one is here now the one we have seen the last 10 years, from the basic style, also the interior, and I still really like that style, really feel comfortable inside the car. So that was my conclusion about these two new cars. I hope you liked our review, and I hope to see you at the next Autogefühl episode.